Hey team, welcome back to The Flip Side. Today I am talking to you about something that I love to talk about. So I'm going to try and keep it short and sweet and to the point because there are some seriously awesome take-home points here. Now, I've tried to record this quite a few times and I just have not been happy with it. But today, I was given the missing piece. The universe answered my call. Okay, so I was training with my teammate today and he said, we talk about this kind of stuff sometimes, the mindset concepts, things like this. He's studying psychology, so it's really cool to have those types of chats with him. And he said, oh, I heard this quote today, and I loved it. And I was like, okay, tell. And he said, don't waste a perfectly good failure. And he was like, how good is that? I never would have used the word good next to failure. I said, oh my God, that's the one. You've done it. You've named my podcast. Don't waste a perfectly good failure. I love it. It was the most fitting quote that encapsulates everything I want to talk about today. So like I said, short and sweet, let's get into it. I'm going to talk about two different things today. One is the way the brain works and why failure is so important for the brain. And two is how to frame failure. So we're going to talk about these two things. Firstly, let's get into the brain. Why are errors? Why is failure absolutely necessary? Well, what the brain does is if you're trying to learn a skill or something new, you have to do a certain amount of repetitions of this skill or this new thing in order to get it right. So when you're doing this, the number of repetitions you do, your brain is taking in every single detail of all of those repetitions. And when you get closer to the ideal model, it tags that one. It tags that good one with a dopamine hit. So that's a chemical that makes your brain notice that repetition. Now, when it does this, what that means is it shows the brain that all the others were failures or errors. They weren't quite as close to the ideal model as this one was. And so the more and more you do, the more pool of reps that you have, the more your brain is able to differentiate what was the one that worked and how can we recreate that and which were the ones that didn't work. I think that this is just so transformative in how you can consider when you make errors and when you fail. Let's give an example, like a baby. Okay, I love this example of this because it is exactly how we work. And as adults, we put all these other ideas about why it can't work this way, but it really does work this way. So as a baby, if a baby is, say, learning to grab something, to reach and pick something up, maybe like a cup, they want to have a drink, right? Learning how to pick up a cup, they're going to overshoot, they're going to undershoot, they're going to whack the cup and hit it over and it's going to spill everywhere. Then they're going to maybe grab it just for a second and drop it. And they're going to have all these reps of trying to grab this cup over time. And then what's going to happen magically, it seems, one day is they're going to pick it up, the perfect amount of reach, the perfect amount of grasp, and hold it and be able to bring it to their mouth. What this shows is that without all of those errors, the brain is not possibly able to map what the correct one was. You need the, oh, that didn't work, undershot. Oh, that didn't work, overshot. Well, hand straight through the glass and the water's all on the floor. You know, we need all of those repetitions in order to get the ideal model, which is picking up the cup and being able to drink it. Now, this is the same as when babies try to walk. When they first stand up, they don't even know how to move the leg, but they know they want to get to a new place, right? They know they want to move from point A to point B. And so the same thing, you have all of those errors, which is like, oh, foot too far forwards, fall over. Oh, foot just lifted and dropped back into the exact same spot. We didn't go anywhere. That's not it either. And so if babies acted like adults, they would never learn how to walk. If they went, oh my gosh, it's too hard. I'm not getting it right. I should just give up. Or, oh my God, what's everyone going to think of me? What's everyone going to think of me if I fall over right now? Have you ever seen a baby look embarrassed to fall over when they're learning to walk? It just doesn't happen. Everyone's so excited no matter what they do. And so I think it's really important to frame your errors this way. It is literally the brain's bread and butter to learn a motor skill is to make mistakes. You have to have those incorrect versions, those incorrect renditions in order to refine to what is your idealistic model. I think that's amazing. Now that you're okay with making errors, what we're going to talk about is when we make errors, when we fail, and when we make mistakes, how we can fast track our learning and our next action steps from it. So you might have heard the saying win or learn. You've definitely heard win or lose or win or loss, but you might have come across win or learn. I had only heard this maybe once or twice, and it just really stuck with me. I didn't really know anything about it, but I tried to implement it myself at training. And I discovered something really incredible when I started implementing this. So let me describe to you what it means, and then I'll share with you the incredible thing that started happening. So it's pretty easy to consider our wins, what we did well, what felt good, what felt easy. That's usually easy to identify. What is also easy to identify is where the fails were, maybe even easier, what the loss was, what the mistakes were. Any adversity, any tough times, any challenges always really stand out to our brain. And so if we want to make this more useful, if we want to make this an opportunity to learn something, to change, to grow, to take new action, then what we can do is consider the loss, the failure, the mistake as a learn. So now it's win or learn. It's never win or lose. Whenever you see adversity come up, you see it as an opportunity to learn. Now, what I mean by this, when something hard is happening in your life and it doesn't go the way you intended or the way you anticipated, you might see that as a failure. Chances are you will see that as a failure. So, for example, a job interview that you didn't get hired for, or that you didn't even don't even worry about the outcome. You didn't feel like it went well, so you're beating yourself up about it, or you're angry at the interviewer about it. Instead of sitting in that emotion or sitting in those thoughts of that interviewer sucked, that interviewer was so rude, or he didn't even ask questions that were relevant to the job. I don't even understand. It was just so silly. Or like, oh my God, I always do bad in face-to-face interactions like that. I get so nervous and I just don't even say the right thing. You know, you can either do that internal blame or that external blame, but either way, you're the victim of the situation and it's a failure, right? So how can we flip this? We can flip this by considering what we can learn from it. We can flip this by seeing it as an opportunity to grow. So every time you face something hard and you hear that voice in your head that this is so hard and why me and it's all bad and the world's against me or I'm not good enough, hear that, recognize it, and go, hang on. I'm being given an opportunity to learn. What am I being shown? What can I change? How can I grow? How can I take new action? The way I learned this really intensely was I did this Instagram series where every week I would report on my win and my learn for the week. And so the wins I found, except for the really hard weeks, it was okay to pull a win. It was pretty easy to pull a win out and be happy with something that I'd done. The learn, however, what was hard about the learn was not identifying what the challenge was, what the adversity was. That felt pretty easy because I find that there's always things that challenge you in life, and that's a good thing. But the hard part about this was figuring out what the opportunity was to learn. So I was injured and I had to see that as an opportunity to work on technical things that I'd never had the chance to work on before. But from the outside, and even from the inside for me, before that, it felt like just such a setback. But now I've done all this technical work that I never would have done if I wasn't injured. And so I can see it as the thing that's propelled me forwards after this injury. It's like the arrow analogy, you know, when with a bow and arrow, you've got to pull the arrow back and you might see that as a setback, but really it's that massive wind up for a huge propulsion forwards. And that right there is the sentiment that I want you to take away is every single hardship, every single adversity has a learning in it if you let it. You have to choose to see it that way, and it can be really tough to do that at the beginning. But what I want to highlight, like I said, there was something that's so amazing that started to happen to me, which was that emotional window when things are going bad. It condenses that emotional window. It makes it so much smaller because you can already future plan. You can already see the action steps. You can already see what you are learning from this hard situation immediately. You can be frustrated. You can be angry. You can be sad about these hardships. But that emotional window gets so much smaller when you realize, what's the opportunity here? What am I here to learn? What am I here to grow from? And how can I take new action to change the outcome to be closer to the ideal model? And that leans back to the concept we were talking about first with the brain. Like, you need those errors. And if you see them as a necessity, then they're just part of the journey. They're not a setback. So just like that job interview, you can decide, yeah, it was a bit of a shitty job interview. I didn't enjoy the experience and I didn't like the way the interviewer conducted himself, but I can get better at. I can get better at having hard conversations when I feel nervous. How can I put myself in those situations more often? That's the action piece, so that I get more comfortable with that. Or how can I start working on my self-belief so I feel more confident when I stand in that space? There's all these things that you can pull from adversity in order to make yourself better. Whenever I go through a hard time now, a challenging time, and I'm sure there's one that's going to kick me on my ass because, you say this and then something really gets you. But whenever I go through a hard time now, I am so efficient and so quick at reframing it as a learn, as a stepping stone, as not a setback, but something that's going to help me to grow. That emotional window is so condensed that I really feel those emotions and I feel them strongly, but then immediately I'm on to the next thing. And so the biggest, most recent example of this is that I was not selected for the World Championship team this year. The Australian team had 4 spots for the females for double mini for the sport that I do, and I did not get selected for that. Now, there were so many factors around why that occurred, and I can be very realistic about those factors. But on the day that I knew I didn't do the job that I needed to do in order to get that spot, I was an absolute wreck, in tears, puddle of tears, just beside myself, and thinking all those negative thoughts that you can imagine, like, why am I doing this? I'm not good enough to be up there with those girls, and going going in, beating myself up about it. Last time this happened, I held on to it, I would say, for at least a year. This time, I held on to it for about a day and a half. I can only attribute that to the work I've done in this win or learn frame. When it happened, I thought, this is an opportunity. I just need to figure out what it is. And now I know exactly what that opportunity is. I know that I have this amazing window of time to build skills that I haven't had. My body feels strong and I'm keeping it strong. Now, using that strength that I've been building through the injury that I had last year, I'm further forwards than I was before. I'm faster than I was before. I'm stronger than I was before. And then show up even better next year. That's my reframe. That's my learn from this setback. And I quote unquote setback. I'm so glad that I started seeing things in this win or learn way. So I would urge you to just try it. It might be journaling it. It might be talking to yourself about it. Might be setting up a camera and recording it. Not that it needs to go anywhere, but you get to talk about it. It might be writing it on your mirror, on your whiteboard. Change it every week. It has been so game changing for me that I think everyone should do it. So great. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you on the flip side. Bye now.